Hey there and welcome back to my channel, and if you're new, welcome to my channel and thank you so much for being here. So I feel like it's been a really long time since I sat down and really opened up to you guys, and it feels a little weird because as much as I love fashion, I am at the very core of it like here to talk because I love talking. You guys seem to love when I open up, and I kind of had a bit of an epiphany the other day, kind of an understatement. I definitely had an epiphany, and if you follow me on Instagram and look at my Instagram stories, you might already know what I'm talking about. And I figured it was worthwhile to really sit down and talk about this in a video because I don't feel like I'm done talking about it. You can probably tell by the name of this video, this is gonna be about weight. So if you are not in a headspace where you can comfortably listen to that stuff, I would definitely suggest tapping out right now. Overall, I think it's extremely important and super beneficial to let you guys know that I'm not always like super happy, untouchable and never feel insecure about my body a single day in my life. But anyways, I'm gonna get into it, so grab a snack, get comfortable, and let's get started. All right, so a little bit of backstory if you are not following my Instagram, if you haven't seen my Instagram stories. By the way, I'm tons of blush over there, just gonna give myself a little bit of a plug. I recently opened up about the fact that I don't do scales, but I mentioned that I kind of broke my own rule one day and decided, you know what, I am gonna hop on the scale and see where I'm at. And even more backstory, I feel like you might have to go watch one of my previous videos about gaining weight and losing weight to really get the real backstory behind this backstory about why I'm kind of like weird about knowing my weight. But sometime last year, I was in this mode where I was just basically obsessively weighing myself to the point that it became an obsession. There was a lot of insecurity about it. I was very fixated on numbers, and one day I weighed myself and I weighed significantly higher than I thought I weighed, that I wanted to weigh, and I kind of had a breakdown about it, and it was totally different than anything I had experienced in a really long time. Mind you, I hadn't really felt any attachment to a number on the scale in a really, really long time. And after that moment, after I had this huge, I feel like I have a bug on myself, so I'm just gonna make sure there's no bug on me really quick. After I had stepped on the scale sometime last year and I didn't like what I saw, I decided in that moment I was gonna take a step back and remove myself from looking at the number on the scale. It was the healthiest option for me. I'm sure a lot of you can relate to needing to step away from the scale because it can just be really, really toxic and start an obsession. So that's where I was at. Sometime last week, while I was in the process of packing to come to Boston, I have to weigh my suitcase, and a lot of the times when I do that, it's been significantly less of a thing that I've had to think about in the recent months, but there have been times where I've sort of had to talk myself out of stepping on the scale. And this time around, I felt a little differently about it. I mostly felt curious. I mostly felt like it had been enough time and I wanted to revisit stepping on this scale to know how much I weigh. There's no reason for it. There was no reason for it at all, but I was just like, I feel like I can do this right now without becoming obsessive, without being hurt, so I'm gonna do it. Lo and behold, I step on the scale and I weighed the same that I did the one time that I felt I weighed too much. And I feel like I might get a little emotional, but it didn't hurt. It didn't feel the way that it did. I didn't feel panicky. I didn't feel like I had failed myself. I didn't feel really upset. I felt okay with it. I felt like, yeah, that's fine. Like, this is my weight and there's nothing wrong with that. And that's when it hit me that I had come full circle again. If you've been keeping up with some of the previous videos and content I've put out, I've opened up about how I had this whole ordeal with a family doctor who made a huge deal about me gaining 5 pounds, and it sort of reset a lot of the mentality that I had about my weight, and it was a huge struggle. Internally, it was a huge struggle to carry that burden, and felt like that confident girl that I once was no longer with me. And it has been a heavy cross to bear for almost a year. And when I stepped on the scale and it didn't hurt, I felt like there was a light at the end of the tunnel. And suddenly I was getting back to being happy in my size and being happy with myself. And previous to this whole body positive community and finding confidence in myself, I was a very insecure person. I mean, I hated being fat. That's really just the only way I can sum it up. I hated it. It depressed me. It was something I never wanted to be for my whole life. And the thought of going back to being insecure about being fat was overwhelming, and it was scary, and I didn't know if I was going back there, and I didn't know how to deal with that. I didn't know if that was going to be my life again, and that was really scary for me. I just started to realize what was happening. The thing with confidence when you are a fat person is no matter how much you try on a daily basis to involve yourself with body positivity, to have role models that you look up to surround yourself with supportive and positive people, well, most of us were raised in environments and in a society that told you every damn day of your life that your fat body meant you were ugly, unworthy, not deserving of respect, that nobody was going to love you, that if you didn't lose weight, you wouldn't get all the things that you wanted in life. And as much as we individually and collectively try to fight that message, it's still hard to remind yourself on a daily basis that that's not true. And unfortunately, I felt a lot of that pressure. I had been a certain size for a period of time and then gained weight back, and how is society going to look at me now? How are my friends going to look at me? How is my family going to look at me? How is I going to look at myself? And it was very scary to be in that mindset again. Maybe you know what I'm talking about, maybe you don't. But for me, that was what was prominent. That was what was plaguing me for a long time. And when I stepped on that scale, it was just this feeling that washed over me, like suddenly I knew I could do it. And suddenly everything I was battling for the last year was something I felt like I won. I felt like I won the battle when for a very long time I didn't feel like I was winning. I felt like I was losing. That's the interesting thing about weight gain after you've lost weight, is that nobody tells you or gives you a book on how to handle the inevitable gain back. Because when you do any sort of restrictive diet, when you do anything that causes you to lose weight, when you change your diet, whether it's like minuscule or like really restricting yourself, you eventually do start to go back to your old ways. And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. There's literally nothing wrong with gaining weight back. It's part of life. That's why diets in many ways are damn near impossible to maintain, because restricting yourself in any possible way is not something we are designed and built to do. And if you've been in a situation, and I speak from experience throughout my entire life because I've been on so many diets, If you've ever been in a situation where you've been praised for losing weight, it makes you feel weird about what your body used to look like. When people start saying things to you and they feel like they can suddenly open up about how disgusted they were about your body before, it makes you like pretty damn scared to go back to what you used to look like, because now you know what people thought about you, and now you know that if you gain that weight back, they're not going to say it to your face, but they will be thinking it, and it makes you scared to see those same people. And I've had so many of those situations with friends, with feeling like I couldn't see these people anymore, and then the crippling anxiety of, I don't want to feel this way. I know better, but why am I beating myself up like this? And then you just realize, fuck, like, this is fat shaming at its finest. This is fat stigma at its finest. This is diet culture at its finest. And you know what? I'm not going to judge anyone for going on a diet. If you are, for whatever freaking reason, it's your body. You do with it what you may. It's so important to understand that diet culture and fat shaming really keeps the narrative alive that fat bodies are inherently unworthy and unlovable. And those two things combined, these extremely powerful, multi-million dollar forces, are really, really hard to escape. I feel like it's so important to have a conversation about this sort of stuff, especially from people who preach body positivity and confidence and have an audience of people who look up to them and their confidence, because I never want you guys to believe for a second that I don't feel insecure, that I don't have things that I'm dealing with on a daily basis, that I don't deal with those same ups and downs that you guys do, because that's part of life. That's part of having a body in a society that will always have something negative to say about you one way or another. I think it was really important that I took a step back and recognized that I was creating a pattern in myself that was becoming obsessive. I'm so proud of myself for being able to accomplish that and to win that battle, because it was something that really stressed me out. And I didn't know if I was gonna like open up to you guys about it. You know, I'm a real person with real insecurities. I'm also a fat person on the internet. Overall, you guys, we are in this together, and I keep saying that every single time, but it's true. We really, really are. You know, if you are struggling with anything weight related, and you don't know how to get past that hurdle, I would seriously suggest reaching out to people who you feel comfortable with, people who support you, people who are going to understand you, because we never have to go through this alone. And it's so hard on a freaking daily basis to escape, you know, fat shaming, and to not see somebody mention something about their weight, or see like a magazine cover praising somebody's like thin body. It's hard. I feel like my camera's gonna die any second now, so I should probably start wrapping this up, and it is almost 10 o'clock, so I'm getting sleepy. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this video. If you guys have experienced these same things in your life, maybe recently or in the past, and you feel comfortable sharing them in the comments below, I would love to hear them. My card is gonna be full like any second now, so I have to go ahead and wrap this up. But just don't forget, you can find new videos from me every Wednesday and every Sunday, a new blog post every Tuesday and every Thursday, and I'll see you next time. Bye.